Look at this playground. No rubber floor, no soft plastic, no safety fence, just steel, concrete, gravity, and a group of children with unlimited confidence. This wasn't an abandoned construction site. This was where parents sent kids to have fun. 100 years ago, playgrounds were filled with giant metal slides, spinning platforms, chains, sharp corners, and equipment so tall it looks less like childhood entertainment and more like a final boss level. Basically, if modern playgrounds are designed by safety engineers, all playgrounds were designed by someone who looked at a factory accident and said, "Can we make this smaller?" For children. So today we are asking one simple question: how was this safe?
Old playgrounds can look shocking today. Tall steel slides standing over hard ground, metal jungle gyms with no padding underneath, seesaws that could launch a child into the air, merry-go-rounds that turned a playground into a physics experiment. But the story is not just about laughing at the past. It's about how society slowly learned that kids will be kids. It's not a safety plan. Playgrounds were supposed to protect children from the streets, give them fresh air, exercise, and a place to play. But for a long time, the equipment itself created a whole new set of risks. The first public playgrounds were not created because cities wanted children to have a perfect childhood. They were created because city life was becoming dangerous. In the late 80s and early 90s, children in crowded cities often played in the streets, near houses, cars, factories, and eventually cars. So playgrounds were seen as a solution. Move children away from traffic, give them open space, let them climb, swing, run, and burn energy somewhere controlled. In theory, that made sense. But early playgrounds were basic: swings, slides, sandboxes, shelters, and open lots. In some cities, playground programs expanded during the early 20th century as communities tried to get children away from dangerous streets. The problem was that safer than the street did not always mean actually safe. Let's start with the classic, the giant metal slide. Today, slides are lower, smoother, surrounded by safety zones, and usually placed over impact-absorbing material. Older slides were different. They were often tall, steep, made of metal, and placed over surfaces that were not exactly forgiving. Asphalt, dirt, packed earth, concrete. People who grew up around old metal slides often remember burns from hot metal. And some children ever used wax paper to go faster, because apparently the normal speed wasn't dangerous enough. That is one of the most old-school childhood ideas ever. The steel slide is already too hot to touch? Let's add speed. And that was the pattern with many old playgrounds. The fun was real, the risk was also real. Then there were merry-go-rounds. At their best, they were exciting. At their worst, they were a small metal platform that taught children about centrifugal force before they knew how to spell it. Kids would spin them faster and faster. Some sat, some stood, some held on with one hand. Some tried to jump off at full speed. And the surface underneath was often not rubber. It was ground, or gravel, or something that would very quickly explain the difference between fun momentum and medical momentum. In a modern playground, the design goal is prevent serious injury. On an old merry-go-round, the design goals sometimes feel like, let's see who really wants to be here. This equipment was memorable because it gave children a sense of danger and control. But from a safety point of view, spinning metal, plus hard ground, plus telling children making bad decisions is not exactly a perfect equation. Another classic feature was the jungle gym. Tall metal frames, climbing bars, monkey bars, domes, ladders, structures that encourage children to climb as high as possible, and they trust their hands, shoes, and balance. The danger here was not that climbing is bad. Climbing is actually important for children. It builds strength, confidence, coordination, and risk judgment. The problem was the combination: height plus hard surface, metal plus rust, open gaps plus loose clothing, equipment built for adventure, before modern testing standards became normal. The US Consumer Product Safety Commission's Playground Handbook says protective surfacing under and around equipment is crucial because falls are a common playground hazard pattern, and severe head injuries are a major concern. That sentence basically explains why so many old playground photos look terrifying today. It's not only the slide, it's what happens when you miss the slide.
The big change was not that adults suddenly discovered children can fall. They always knew that. The change was the injuries became something you could measure, study, standardize, and design against. That's why modern playgrounds look so different. The ground is different, the height is different, the spacing is different, the edges are different. Even the way equipment is arranged is different. And honestly, yes, sometimes modern playground looks less exciting. Some of them look like they were designed by a commute whose childhood dream was liability reduction, but there's a reason for that.
The safety movement grew slowly. According to the CPRC Public Playground Safety Handbook, the first CPRC Playground Safety Handbook was published in 1981. ASTM standards for impact attenuating playground surface followed in 1991, and ASTM Public Playground Equipment standards came in 1993. That matters because it shows how recent modern playground safety really is. For most of 20th century, many playgrounds were built before today's expectations became normal. By the 1970s and 1980s, the modern playground began to take shape. Rounded edges, better materials, impact-absorbing surfaces, and more attention to how children actually use equipment, not how adults imagine they will use it. And the data pointed the one big issue: falls. One summary of CPSC playground injury data says falls to the surface were found to be the largest cause of playground injuries, 58% in a 1988 CPSC assessment and ever higher in later reports. That is why the ground became one of the most important parts of the playground, because the most dangerous piece of equipment was not always the slide, the swing, or the monkey bars. Sometimes it was the concrete underneath. So, were old playgrounds death traps? Not always. Millions of children played on them, loved them, and survived them with good memories and maybe a few scares. But they were built in a different world. A world where risk was accepted more casually, where safety standards were less developed, where hard ground under a tall metal slide could still look completely normal. And that is what makes these photos so strange today. They are not just pictures of dangerous equipment, they are pictures of a time before safety became part of the design.
So maybe the real question isn't only how are they safe. Maybe the better question: what are we using today that people 15 years from now will look at and say, how did anyone think this was a good idea?
If you want more stories about dangerous products, strange inventions, and things people once thought were completely normal, subscribe, because history is full of things that somehow faced as safe.